What if I told you Outlander might be about to rewrite its own history in Season 8? A character we thought was long gone may not be so gone after all, and the most heartbreaking death in the final season might actually open the door for their return. Sounds wild? Stick with me. What's coming next is emotional, shocking, and years in the making. I've been covering Outlander for a long time, and honestly, if Season 8 drags out one particular storyline again, I might lose it. But here's the twist. Something far crazier is already brewing under the surface. Season 7 quietly slipped in a character who's been presumed dead for years, and hardly anyone noticed. Even more mind-blowing? I think the most devastating death in Season 8 might be exactly what brings that character back. It might sound random, but if you've been following this channel, you'll see how it all connects. And if you're new, don't worry. By the end of this video, it'll all make sense. Over the years, the show has stuck to a familiar pattern: split up beloved characters, throw them into chaos, and then give us a tearful, emotional reunion. It's worked again and again. But with only 10 episodes left in Season 8, there's just no time for that formula anymore. This is the final chapter. Everything needs to move fast, and it's going to be packed with emotion, heartbreak, and one last showdown before the story ends. At the end of Season 7, nearly every major character is in limbo. Jamie and Claire are headed back to Fraser's Ridge, hoping to find some kind of peace, even as the Revolutionary War threatens to erupt in North Carolina. They're not alone. They've brought Fanny Beardsley with them, and some fans think she might actually be their granddaughter, which would be a huge twist. Meanwhile, Brianna and Roger end the season completely unsure of what comes next. But based on everything we know, it looks like they'll eventually return to 1779 and reunite with Jamie and Claire. Still, if we know anything about Outlander, it's that these reunions tend to take longer than they should. The show has always loved to separate characters, especially Jamie and Claire, and make us wait for them to find their way back to each other. Even Roger and Brianna have been split up more than once. In Season 7, Roger winds up in 1739 while Brianna is left behind. When she finally reunites with her parents in Season 8, it's going to be incredibly emotional. It's been 5 in-story years since they've seen each other, but dragging out that reunion would be a mistake. We've already watched them survive impossible odds to be together. We don't need to go through that again. If Roger and Brianna spend the entire final season trying to get back to Fraser's Ridge, only to arrive right at the end, it would feel like a missed opportunity. What would work better is getting them back into the story early, so we can see what peace actually looks like for this family. Because despite everything they've been through, there's still a lot more we want to see. One major storyline that hasn't been resolved is Claire's belief that her long-lost daughter, Faith, might still be alive. Brianna doesn't even know that Claire was shot at the Battle of Monmouth, or that she and Jamie have taken in Fanny. She's completely out of the loop. Once she finds out that Claire believes Faith could still be alive, it could set off a deeply emotional journey. Brianna is logical, but she's also seen the impossible. She knows time travel is real. So there's a real chance she could help Claire investigate, potentially launching a brand new storyline that isn't even in the books. That kind of twist would be a big deal for both longtime fans and newcomers. But again, it only works if Brianna returns early enough in the season to make that story meaningful. Then there's a blink and you'll miss it moment from Season 7. In episode 15, we briefly saw a man and a young girl looking at a painting of Molly Pitcher in a museum. We never saw their faces, but longtime fans instantly recognized the pair. It was Frank Randall and young Brianna. The painting itself was altered from the real-world version to show Jamie firing a cannon and Claire tending the wounded. It was a subtle but powerful way to suggest that Frank knew Claire and Jamie had traveled back in time and had actually become part of history. In the books, Brianna eventually learns that Frank figured it all out. He knew what Claire had done, he knew she went back, he just never said anything. The show hasn't fully explored that idea, so this small moment might have been the show's way of confirming that Frank always knew more than he let on. Tobias Menzies, who played both Frank and Blackjack Randall, hasn't appeared since Season 4 and said he wasn't returning. So whoever played Frank in that flashback wasn't him. But the emotional weight of that scene still landed. Now here's where it gets really interesting. There are rumors that Season 8 could bring Frank back in an even more emotional way. Diana Gabaldon has said the final season won't follow the books exactly, but it will borrow from both the 9th and 10th novels. That opens the door for a lot to happen, including a heartbreaking death that could trigger a vision or memory involving Frank. Season 8 is going to be intense, and even a short return from Frank, whether in a dream, vision, or memory, would add emotional weight, especially given how much of Brianna's life he shaped. Outlander's final season has a massive task ahead. It needs to bring a sprawling, time-hopping story to a satisfying end, give its characters the emotional closure they deserve, and still deliver a few final surprises. To do that, it can't afford to waste time. No more delayed reunions. No more slow-burn setups. Just get the family back together, dive into the deep emotional arcs, and give fans the farewell this series truly deserves. After all the love, heartbreak, war, and time travel we've seen, Outlander has more than earned the right to go out on a high note, one full of heart, hope, and one last great adventure.